And welcome, viewers. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your utterly stoic host, smAsho, aka Dan. And we're looking at this active region here in the southwestern portion of the Earth-facing solar disk to see no sunspots. And that active region known as a plage. And let's look at 193 angstroms. But first, happy Friday the 13th. Please do not get stabbed by a fence post. Here's the 193 angstrom view, and we're going to show you close-ups of both solar polar regions momentarily. First, we're going to look at helioviewer.org and look at the fields, and there you see the field associated with that plage. Pretty low levels of solar activity here, and we see some upgrades to the Discover data. We'll get to it in a moment. Here's the North Solar Polar region. I'll let that play through a second time. And here's the south. I'll let that run twice as well. Nice view of that very large and in charge South Pole coronal hole field area. And one other thing before we move on here, Solon.info has not yet updated its solar polar fields versus solar cycles portion of its site. And that's probably the most important solar forecasting data that there is. So we are waiting for that to be updated. Shout out to Solon.info and to our viewers to understand what this is about. Let's look at some more data. Here's the locations of stuff. Here are the locations of things. And there's where they'll be in 1 week. By the way, it's less than a week until the spring equinox or the autumnal equinox if you're in the southern hemisphere. Shout out to our viewers from under the equator, that is. And here's where stars are while we made the video. It's currently 4:29 a.m. Do you know where your Mars is? It's just rising over the horizon. And let's get back to some data here. Here is the KP index, which is up to 3. 10.7 centimeter radial flux, which for you new viewers out there is a good proxy for sunspot number. Nice thing about the 10.7 centimeter radial flux is it enables us to measure the radial flux from Earth, even on cloudy days. And this is a good proxy for sunspot number, discovered in 1947 by some Canadians playing around with World War II radio equipment. X-ray flux is totally on the floor there, and there you can see how flatlined that is. We're not going to do cosmic rays today, although we do keep links to the network of cosmic ray stations below the video, so if you want to watch that, watch yesterday's video. And here's the upgraded data set from Discover, and you can see it's putting shading here on both the BTBZ and the phi angle. Perhaps changes coming to all of these things. And also there's increased tracking capabilities here. So you can hover your cursor over these areas and you'll be able to see how these things are changing in relation to each other. So this will be good stuff, I think, going forward. Current solar wind density dropping down from yesterday to 7.54 protons per cubic centimeter. And a small uptick in the solar wind speed here in the last few hours has brought it up to 422 kilometers a second. And there's the data from ACE, the older and better shielded spacecraft. In other words, ACE has less effects from cosmic rays than Discover does. Next, we'll look at magnetosphere movies. And here's the last 4 hours And thanks again, everybody tuning in who's never seen the videos before, as we keep getting more subscribers and views on BitChute especially. Well done, all of you who are involved in alt tech. Next we'll look at ground geospace magnetic perturbations, changes in Earth's B field, and welcome to the Neo-Renaissance and indeed the geomagnetic excursion as the South Pole creeps towards southwestern Australia, and we see two North Poles, one weaker one over Canada and one stronger one over Siberia. And we're going to actually look at the polar perturbations here. And there is the data from the polar view. And we're looking at this today as we saw some anomalies both in the north and the south. So most of the perturbations here only on the Canadian side, not on the Siberian side. And you see the South Pole again creeping toward southern Australia. There's the GOES magnetometer data, which is pretty much exactly as we forecasted, continuing to look spiky, and no data from the GOES, I believe it's the GOES 15, and even some missing data there from the 16. Here's the magnetic environment from the top view ecliptic plane field plot. Now we're looking at the heliospheric current sheet shown here in red, fully charged up by the South Pole. And no end to that in sight. No real activity rising in the east. And we're going to see continued spikiness in the GOES magnetometer due to the non-uniform density of the plasma in the corona between the Earth's magnetic fields and the sun's. Line of sight field plot not showing anything too exciting either. There's the data from that. Electrons remain at very low levels. There are the relativistic electrons as reported by Solid.info. There are the greater than or equal to 2 mega electron volt electron flux, at least the ones reported by GOES 16. No data from the other spacecraft for several days. There's a 7-day chart, and you can see that GOES 15 went offline on March 9th. Here's the total electron content forecast, and you can see it's quite low. So we're not expecting to see very many GPS errors. And where I'm located, we're expecting quite precise GPS readings. Next, we've got 6 hours of data here from Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology on the ionosphere. As we get closer to home here. Anyway, there's the ionosphere data looking pretty normal. And there's the current image, 8:30 UT. By the way, thanks to our patrons for supporting the channel. And patrons receive all the breaking news before everybody else, as well as our Subscribe Star base. So please consider funding us, as we have got a lot to do in 2020, and we need a lot of funding to do it. So please consider the tiers there, $1 and $9.99 a month tiers at Patreon, and a $3 tier at Subscribestar. More exclusive content coming to all of those. And did you watch our aquarium stream for Vengeance yesterday? Well, we did a 26-minute and 38-second stream featuring our lovely aquarium and featuring lovely Jaws, the great white goldfish, on the thumbnail. So if you'd like a half-hour screensaver, check it out. There's really not a lot of content on there, and there's really a lot of nonsense on YouTube. We're also on Twitch, so check us out there, twitch.tv/smAsho. And when we do live streams, we typically always do the substantive ones there because the platform is just great. Also, consider alt tech. As this, if you're watching this video on YouTube, this channel could be deleted with no warning. We could also voluntarily pull the content with no warning, and it all has to do with Google's fraud and censorship. So thanks everybody who's viewing on BitChute, and if you're viewing on YouTube, I suggest you subscribe on BitChute, because not only is there exclusive content there, but all the content might be there someday. So be prepared for YouTube to evaporate, because it's a piece of crap. Also, be prepared for Facebook to evaporate, because it's a piece of crap too. It censored us in 2018, and we changed our relationship with Facebook. So check out Minds.com, the social media alternative, which won't censor you. It won't shadow ban you. It'll get us to 600,000 views. Subscribe over there. Social media is not dead. Facebook's dead. Just like Google, Apple, and Twitter, these zombie companies with billions of dollars roaming around with their lawyers cannot stop information. And while Google would like to stop information, it's impossible for it to do so, since Google is a scam and not a verb. Here's some evidence of it. Our YouTube comments get censored, even ones that aren't spam. So it's totally not censorship, folks. Get off of YouTube. It's alphabet junkware designed to spy on you and sell elections to the highest bidder. Hashtag electioneering, hashtag fraud, and hashtag censorship. That's Google. So start watching Alt Tech, because the channel is already partially migrated from the pathetic YouTube junkware platform. And I put that in quotes because it's more like a turd form. Like Google's search engine, YouTube is only marketing lies. Their disdain for the truth is utterly ridiculous, and you have been warned. We've got an entire section about how Google is a scam and not a verb, and here's another example covered on the Glenn Beck Show about 2 days ago. The Gainesville Police Department suspected an innocent man was involved in a burglary, so they created a geofence warrant, and they discovered that some cyclist was riding past this place. He'd ridden past the place of a home invasion 3 times in one day, and ended up having to spend thousands of dollars on attorneys. So once again, Google location services screwing over their clients. A guy who's just trying to log his bike rides ended up in court without committing any crimes. So thanks, Google. Well done. Check out smashomash.com/forum and read all about how Google is a scam and not a verb. And by the way, if you want this image, we'll link to it below the video for your sharing pleasure. Next, we're going to look at windy.com's pressure maps. I'm going to let that advance about 24 hours. And the entire country of Canada totally covered in high pressure. Can they handle it, or are they a bunch of pearl-clutching pussies? Well, we'll stay tuned to find out. Anyway, there's how things will be, according to the GFS forecast, at about 1 p.m. tomorrow, my time. And I'm located in the Lehigh Valley, by the way. Next, we're going to look at earthquakes over the past 24 hours. Just about 24 hours ago, we saw a deep quake at Papua New Guinea. It's 144 kilometers depth at a 4.5 magnitude. And we're just going to scroll up here. There's a deep quake at Alaska. We've seen a lot there in the southern portion. Still experience. This is an earthquake drought period, not even just a 6+ earthquake drought. Looks like the largest of the past 24 may have been this 5.3. So a few in the 5 range there, nothing over a 6 magnitude as the earthquake drought continues. If you're in an earthquake-prone zone, please have a plan to be an asset, not a liability, when the buildings start to fall. Here's a 4.5 at depth at the Philippines. It's 142.1 kilometers depth and a 4.5 magnitude. Here's one in western South America, 4.3 magnitude at 205 kilometers depth. And then only Only 2 hours later, 2.5 hours later, we see a 5.2 at Chile at depth. It's 108 kilometers. Here's a 4.9 at Tonga at depth. 4.9 magnitude, 208 kilometers depth. So some deep quakes kicking off. Again, 6 and 7 and 8 earthquake drought. So earthquakes above a 6. We're seeing less than the normal amount here. Please have a plan if you're in a prone zone. And please check out smAsho if you haven't. It's got links to our alt tech as well as our mainstream nonsense tech. It's also got a link to the forum, so perhaps check that out. And coronavirus has hit the hometown of, well, not really the hometown of Allentown, but a local school district here in the Lehigh Valley. has closed school yesterday and today. So March 12th and 13th closed for sterilization. They're going to do a deep clean of the entire school district's facilities. So Allentown School District's closed yesterday and today. There's an update for you. Here's another one. We've put 3 more articles and expanded our smAsho.com/forum section on coronavirus to over 10 pages. MIT working on a diagnostic aid, and this is what we want to see happen, folks, because the more cases that are identified, the death rate, the mortality rate is going to drop and drop and drop. There could already be 1 billion cases around the world, and expect to see the mortality rate continue to drop, folks. So I don't know what else to say other than more testing is going to be a good thing. It's going to tell us what the denominator is in terms of how deadly COVID-19 actually is. There's a great article here from, I believe this is a Reuters. Yeah, this is a Reuters article explaining the disparity between the way Italy and South Korea have handled the virus outbreak, perhaps suggesting that this is the key to help control it. So perhaps read that article. It's at smAsho.com/forum. Thanks everybody who set up logins there. And should you keep your kids home from school? Well, perhaps read that article also. And those are the 3 articles that we've posted today at smAsho.com/forum. So check that out, share it with your friends, share it with your foes. There's a great graphic for you about what the symptoms are for MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, and SARS, which are similar coronaviruses, and we won't get into it any more than that. Total confirmed cases currently at 128,343 worldwide. The U.S. up to 1,663 cases, 80,000 in China. Here are the graphs. And we did see a big uptick here on the yellow graph. China's orange graph looking pretty stable here. And a nice linear slant here for the recovered cases shown in green. Total recovered cases, 68,000. So Justin Trudeau's wife, the Prime Minister of Canada's wife, has been diagnosed with COVID-19, as well as Tom Hanks and his wife, who are now quarantined in Australia, I'm told. Let's look at the volcanoes. Current volcanoes erupting include Abico, producing a 9,000-foot ash plume. Flight level 5,000 over Mount Aso. Flight level 5,000 over Kadavar, so that one's back on the list, producing a 5,000-foot ash plume as it explodes. Mount Yasur, that's a new one on the list there, exploding. 5,000-foot plume there. Popocatépetl exploding. 20,000-foot plume down there in Mexico. Sangay exploding. 20,000-foot ash plume there. Revenador, no volcanic ash cloud observed. And Sabancaya unable to detect. Please do not attempt to pole vault the caldera. It could still be erupting. It's probably cloudy. Here are the jet streams of the eastern world. Let's rotate it around. Here are the jet streams of the western world. Doubled up jet stream over the North Atlantic once again, as well as over the Pacific. 90-degree bends, all kinds of bends. And it's not caused by carbon dioxide, folks. Here is the water vapor map of Africa and Europe. Here's the water vapor map of the Far East and Oceania. And I always scroll up to show you the dates, folks. Here's the water vapor map of the U.S. And we're expecting very high temperatures here in eastern Pennsylvania today, up to around 70 degrees. And let's tune in on this zone near the Pennsylvania-Ohio border. And in this zone we can see some dry air smashing into some moister air, just smashing and mashing and stabbing its way east. Stabbing and smashing and bludgeoning that cold air, pushing it. The cold air is doing the pushing, rather. Shown here in red and orange as the jet stream kind of dips down and makes its way to the east. It's going to cool down here tomorrow. It's going to be a little cooler and quite dry, it looks like. And you can see the way that dry air is giving that moist air a little shove out into the Atlantic. Next, we've got the U.S. Doppler radar map, and it looks like we're going to have a couple bands of rain coming throughout the day today where I am. Again, I'm located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Please leave a comment if you've been to Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, one of the biggest cycling communities on the entire planet. Next, we're over at lightningmaps.org, and it looks like some lightning striking. Let's see what's going on in Texas. Shout out to Abilene, Texas. There's thunder rolling in. It's looking pretty violent, too. lightningmaps.org. Next time you hear thunder, perhaps check it out. Impress your friends, impress your foes. Make the natives run for their lives as you forecast thunder. And hey, Smash team, thanks for tuning in. It's not a Smash stream. It's a syndicated video. We didn't stream it live. We recorded it, and then we uploaded it to BitChute before YouTube, because YouTube just sucks. There are chords in the hearts of the most reckless which cannot be touched without emotion. Even with the utterly lost, to whom life and death are equally jests, there are matters of which no jest can be made. The whole company, indeed, now seemed to feel that the costume and bearing of the stranger, neither wit nor propriety existed. The figure was tall and gaunt, and shrouded from head to foot in the habiliments of the grave. The mask, which concealed the visage, was made so nearly to resemble the countenance of a stiffened corpse that the closest scrutiny must have had difficulty in detecting the cheat. And yet all this might have been endured if not approved by the mad revelers around, but the mummer had gone so far as to assume the type of the Red Death. His vesture was dabbled in blood, and his broad brow, with all the features of his face, was besprinkled with the scarlet horror. If you want to read all about it, we've left links to the Masque of the Red Death. It's online-literature.com. Last but not least, we're going to look at some images of the sun, and there we see no sunspots in the intensitygram. Here we see the fields, and it looks like there's a trailing field following that active region, folks. That just popped up recently. That trailing field area right there, maybe that'll turn into a sunspot. Maybe this will turn into another group, as there is some magnetic complexity kicking up. Let's do one final bonus feature. It's the 94 angstroms view. I don't know how I forget 94. It's the year I graduated high school. And now I'm dating myself. In any case, there is the 48-hour video of the local yellow dwarf in 94 angstroms. This one takes some more images, folks, so if you want to get really in-depth images of the sun, go with 94 and 131 angstroms, as they take 10 photographs per minute instead of only 2 like the rest of the scopes. Anyway, thanks for tuning in wherever you did so. Please don't forget to share on your social media. Share with your friends. Share with your foes. Share with your local science nerd. Share with anybody who's willing to watch the videos and attempt to understand the physics. Remember to stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive, and since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back.